The International Monetary Fund has applauded Nigeria's recent monetary policy tightening, but the authorities were advised to prioritize food security as fuel and electricity subsidies are forecast to dent the country's GDP. Let's get some perspectives on the latest IMF Article 4 report as we bring on Bongo, a professor of economics at the Lagos Business School. We thank you for making it on the show tonight, Professor.
Thank you very much, Gus, and thanks for having me.
We appreciate it. What are the key points for you in this latest Article 4 report on Nigeria?
Well, I think it's very obvious for everyone to see, the fact that they, input some growth to the Nigerian economy, expecting the economy to grow by about 3.5% this year is a very cheering news. But of course, that is flying in the face of evidence and what everybody knows about the economy right now. The suffering is actually very intense. People are really having it difficult to feed. Then we are still continuing to see this hemorrhage in the economy where the big investors, especially on the manufacturing side of things, continue to pack up and move out of the country. So when they say the country is growing, so you now begin to look, it's actually very easy to tell which sector is growing. Just that Nigeria's revenue, oil production is increasing, perhaps that is what may be, expanding the economy that they are seeing. So we've seen that production of the volume of crude produced has risen to about 1.6, almost 1.7 million barrels per day. That's what the record we have in January. Perhaps that is what has contributed to the growth that we're seeing. But anyway, these are all recent data, because I'm sure that the growth that they are talking about is of last year, because we're not yet there to look at what has happened in the first quarter of 2024. I think the jury is still out there. It's just hard to really believe that we are growing when we have the inflation rate at the level it is right now. Even if we are grown, because don't forget, GDP is a growth rate of the GDP is a lagging indicator, meaning that it would have happened in the past. So by the time you get to know about it, the economy has already skipped that period. So the time they are referencing, which should be the third or fourth quarter of 2024, is already far behind. So we know about the Christmas spending, the seasonal issues would have led to that. But given the situation, the current reality of the economy, it would be hard for anybody to really believe that we are growing the way they are making it.
But are you surprised that the IMF is predicting that fuel and electricity subsidies could cost Nigeria a slice of its GDP? How significant is this for you when you took note of that in the report?
I will first of all query the data on the GDP, because recall that we are always very sluggish, very slow in recalibrating our GDP. So the last time that we did that exercise was in 2013. So that's more than 10 years ago, when the GDP figures rose and we became the 26th or 27th largest economy in the world, with a GDP of almost $500 billion. Okay, so that was in 2013. That's more than 10 years now. So we're still using that figure, even though that GDP has declined by more than 200 billion. So we are now 350-something billion economy. Okay, so but still, I know that new sectors have emerged. Activity sectors have also expanded. So many things have happened in the economy that have not yet been captured by the GDP. And I think that our GDP may actually be larger than what we see, or what the data that we have now give us. So when they say 3%, so of course, some people may look at the numbers and think it's a huge one, because they are looking for some sort of, motivation to get the market working in the energy sector, having a cost-reflective tariff, as well as the fuel subsidy. Even though, of course, we know that has been deregulated, but we know somehow government is capping the price in some way. What I have to say to that is that somehow we have to go on with these reforms. But then somehow the reforms need to have a human face, in the sense that we need to consider what is happening to the real economy, what happening to the people. So you're talking about finding ways, palliatives for hungry Nigerians, and at the same time you are really decrying, the little bit of would I say, the saving grace they have with, energy costs. Yes, we are experiencing large, blackout in large sections of the economy. I mean, of the nation. But given that we're also struggling to find food on the table, government is struggling to find ways to put food on the table of many Nigerians, it may actually be some sort of, we need to look at sequencing here. So should we go ahead and remove energy subsidy at this point in time, given the situation that we're in? I think that would be very inconsiderate of the government. Yes, okay. It's going to cost a little bit, but I think it's something that we need to reconsider regarding the sequencing of when we want to do that.
Well, the IMF says it welcomes the current monetary policy tightening by the central bank. Do you agree with the tightening cycle? What do you think the ramifications will be for the economy?
You and I have discussed that matter in the past here, not too long ago. And we've seen that the monetary policy seems to have disanchored from the economy a long time ago, since 2017. Because if you look at or consider the inflation trajectory, you see that it's never gone down, despite all the rate hikes that's been ongoing since that period. So never a time have we had an inflation rate that's gone down. So that tells you that we need to reconsider the key drivers of inflation in the economy, which for me is the exchange rate. And then one of the things that lead to impact heavily on the exchange rate is inflation rate. And what is it that is impacting inflation rate in the past? What has driven it was the excessive printing of money by the central bank. And after they print money, they come out to raise the rates, and then we see a very worsening situation. So that has really impacted heavily to the point where monetary policy instruments are no longer responding to the economic parameters. So it's for me, it's actually foolhardy to continue to do the same thing and expect that you're going to have a different result. We also know that some countries, facing our kind of situation, have adopted some sort of unorthodox policies by trying to engage the private sector, the real sector, in to find ways to increase productivity, both in the goods economy and the service economy, in such a way as to dampen the impact of inflation. But we haven't seen that. Yeah. So what we see is just a central bank that is still being too bullish, thinking that by just keep, hiking rates that they will bring about a dampening of inflation. Unfortunately, we don't see that happening.
Interesting scenario we have on our hands right now. But let's give it this, looks like a work in progress in a manner of speaking. Thank you so much, Professor Bongo of the Lagos Business School. Have a great evening. And we thank you as always for your robust insights into the latest IMF report on Nigeria.